Okay, hello. And today I'm going to be giving a short lesson on how to retouch a photograph that I took earlier. By the way, my name is Craig Pilecki. I am a photographer. I wish that I was living in Paris, France, but unfortunately I'm living here in Wisconsin. No, I shouldn't say that. This is a beautiful country and a beautiful area to live in, and a lot of interesting sights, as you'll see in much of my photography. Um, Before we go much further, I would like to just show you my website here. It is at craigpilecki.com, and I have a lot of stuff on here that you can browse and look around at. I give some tutorials on here as well. I even have a short book which you can download for free, and galleries on here that you can browse. And now let's get down to the retouching. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to take and go from this to this, just using Lightroom 5 and Photoshop. Okay, this is a shot that I took up in Michigan late last year, and it was kind of a nice shot. I liked it. It was sort of an impromptu shot. It was taken at a little bit of a high ISO. I was using a Canon 6D though, so the 6D handles noise pretty well. It was shot at ISO 25,600, which is a little higher than I would have liked. But these motorcycles were whipping by so fast I didn't really have time to change my settings or anything. I was just happy to get the shot. There's a little bit of noise, but not so bad that it doesn't hold up for a decent sized print still. And I liked the composition quite a bit. So anyway, I'll show you how I go about retouching this shot. First of all, go in here and just change the white, start with the white balance. Okay, this was shot in the shade, so I would just change this to shade. Next, I would bring down my highlights and open up my shadows. Now, on this shot, I think perhaps I'll be a little more conservative on the shadows because it was shot at a rather high ISO. But otherwise, I normally would open my shadows up 100%. But on this one, I think I'll play it a little more conservative. Then hold down your Option key and drag your white point until you start to see white points. Because once you see white points coming up, that means those are blown highlights. So you want to drag your white point until you see white points and then just back it down a little bit, because you don't want to clip any of those. Then go to the blacks and do the same. But with the blacks, I usually drag it until I see some of the blacks coming in. Maybe not quite that much, but a little bit, because otherwise you don't have any contrast. You do want to have some blacks. So I drag it in about that much. I want this image to be a little bit softer, so I'm going to pull the clarity back a little bit, make it a little bit of a softer appearance. And let's just give it maybe a little bit of a curve here for contrast. Something like that. Okay. Sharpening, I would sharpen in Lightroom, but again, like I said, this one has a lot of noise in it, and I can do a better job of sharpening in Photoshop. Plus, I find that Lightroom sharpening tends to give it a little bit of a kind of a noise pattern that I don't particularly like. So if I normally, the way I sharpen in Lightroom, if I'm sharpening with a lower ISO image, what I'll do is I'll take my sharpening up to about maybe around 90 or 100, and then I'll take my masking and I'll hold my Option key and I'll drag it up here till I mask out areas that I don't want to sharpen, because like in the road here, there's really nothing to sharpen. You're just adding more noise. But in the case of this image, I don't really want to do that. In this one, I'll sharpen it a little bit, but I'll do it later in Photoshop. And this was shot at a rather high ISO, so I will do some noise reduction here. I think I'll do around 25. And then we want to do a lens profile correction. So now if we just zoom in here, have a look, and if we look at before and after, you can see that we're quite a bit better. This image is a little bit soft, but to a certain extent that's going to be unavoidable with this image because, like I said, it was shot at a rather high ISO. But I like this image. So now the one thing I didn't like about this image is I wanted more fall colors to it, but it didn't have quite enough fall colors. So a simple way to work around that is once you've got all your Lightroom processing done, just go Photo, Edit in Photoshop, edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments, and you got to give it a moment. I'm on a MacBook Pro, so it's running a little bit slow here. Okay, now we're in Photoshop. So what you want to do is you want to go up and use your color selector. You want to use your selector, so go select color range and just select somewhere in your greens here. And you can see this will give you a little bit of an idea of what you've got. Oops. Sorry about that for a second there. Then just hold your Shift key and you can add more stuff to the selection if you want. So if you want to add a little more up here, click up there. If you want to add a little more over here, click over here. And you can see that selection gets bigger. Also, if you adjust the fuzziness, that'll kind of change what you've got. Maybe I want to get a little more down there. Okay, it looks like I might have a pretty good selection now, so I'll just click OK. I'll go with that. And then all you do is you go down here and you go to Curves, and then just go into your channels. Take your red channel and adjust it. Maybe drag it up a bit. Get your green channel, adjust that. And here it's really just a matter of taste. You're just adjusting things until you get a look that you like. Maybe I'll go back to the green channel a little more. You can also, if you're not happy with just that, another thing you can do is hold down your Option key, or hold down your Command key, I mean, and reselect your mask, and you can go and you can do a channel mixer. And a channel mixer will basically let you do the same thing. It just gives you a little more control over it. And you can go into the channels here and you can just play around with it a little bit more until you get kind of the look that you want. Alright. So once you have a look that you like, then all you have to do is save it, and it'll automatically re-import into Lightroom. Oh yeah, one more thing I was going to show you. I was going to do a little bit of sharpening in Photoshop because in this case I didn't do it in Lightroom. So when you're on the top of your layers up here, just hold down Command Option Shift E, and that'll make a duplicate layer of everything that you've got so far. Now go to Filter, Other, High Pass, and for this image I'll probably go around 9 pixels, somewhere around there. And then change your blend mode. I usually go with hard light. I'll drop the opacity on it to about 30%. And let me just zoom in here a bit. That gives the image a little bit more crispness. This image is going to be fairly soft no matter what I do to it because that's just the way it was when I shot it, unfortunately. But still, that does help a bit. Save that to get it back into Lightroom. Okay, now back in Lightroom, we can just finish it up here with anything we want to do. If we want to maybe crop the image just to improve the composition a little bit, like that. Maybe give it a little more contrast. But okay, so that's how you go from that to that. All right, now let me see. Where's okay, that was just a little rough tutorial. I'm going to be putting up a lot more of these in the future, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of some of the kind of things that I'm going to be showing on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be showing a lot of stuff on astrophotography, and if you look at my website, you'll see I have a lot of stuff on that subject. So I'll be putting up a lot of tips and tricks on how to process the Milky Way shots, how to take the Milky Way, what kind of lenses you should be getting to do that type of photography, what kind of cameras you should get, all that from A to Z. So I'll be covering all that on my channel, that and a lot more stuff. So have a good day.